What does the face of hunger look like? Is it a child in Ethiopia, an aging man in Somalia, or a family in poverty-stricken India? Most people know that hunger is a tremendous problem in third world countries, killing thousands every day. It kills more people every year than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. But could an epidemic like this ever affect people in the world's most prosperous nation? Sadly, the answer is yes. In America today, 1 in 6 people, including hardworking men and women, suburban families, and young children, are struggling with hunger. Tonight, over 50 million Americans won't have enough food to eat by day's end.
The face of hunger in America is not just the homeless like everyone thinks. It turns out the face of hunger in America is a single mom. It's grandparents raising babies, it's the elderly, it's the infirm.
So they are working 2 jobs, maybe working at minimum wage or slightly above. They're living on the edge, and they're trying to feed their families and have a decent house and a decent car to drive to get back and forth to work.
Official definition of hunger is really a food insecurity, people who maybe don't know where their next meal will be coming from. Now, if you talk about defining hunger and how does it look in America, it looks very different maybe than the rest of the world, because hunger in America doesn't have a stereotypical look. Hunger in America can be your neighbor, your coworker, your parishioner at your church, or something like that. I mean, it affects so many people in different ways that can look like you or I, and you wouldn't know. Hunger in America is something that's so internal, so behind closed doors, that you really can't put a face on it. Here in the land of plenty, we have 50 million people who don't know where their next meal is coming from. And that number has been relatively steady over the last few years, but that's jumped a lot since about 10 years ago. And we've seen that increase happening mostly at folks who've had changing situations, the middle class, things like that. Folks who never thought they'd be in a situation where they'd be hungry, and today they're not sure where their next meal will be coming from. The elderly is a population that suffers from hunger just as much as everybody else. It's a little bit more critical for them because they're on fixed incomes. They can't go get a second job. They can't go find more money. They have resources that are fairly limited. So there's about 3 million people in this country, seniors, who are food insecure, who don't know where the next meal will be coming from. These are people who have really invested into the system their whole lives and now find that they themselves need help. So we're seeing a lot more seniors lining up, trying to get food where maybe there's other programs that they're slipping through the cracks.
One of the most influential people in fighting the war on hunger is Pastor Bob Beeman. His unconventional appearance has given him the title as the Ozzy Osbourne of preachers. Through his dedication, love, and compassion, he's changed and saved thousands of lives over the past few decades.
I'm Pastor Bob, and what you see behind me is the Bridge Bunch. We started this a few years ago just as a service to our houseless friends here in Nashville. We've got currently about 3,500 people that we're feeding every single month, 7 days a week somewhere. We're here under the bridge 3 days a week, and we've got some other locations as well. It doesn't take much to feed the homeless. We get most of our food from Trader Joe's here in Nashville. We just got all the Aldi's accounts. Aldi's owns Trader Joe's. And so we have to still buy paper plates and sporks and all the things that are necessary to feed them. And of course, we've had to put a little bit of an investment into tables, but it doesn't take much. And these days, just to keep everything going, it takes about $300 a month to feed all those people.
Well, Bob's has done a whole lot for me. I mean, I've been down here and him giving out $20 bills to people like us. And he's been giving out food and everything else, helping out the homeless. He has a really kind and sweet heart. He's an amazing guy, and I hope he's always blessed at what his works are doing for him. He's been giving out toiletries, clothes, and money. I mean, he's taken this out of his own pocket and given it to us. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. He's a guy that really cares.
And it's just so hard to get on your feet, you know. We're living in Benton Motel since June 10th of 2011 with these children, and it's just, it's so hard. They've got so many organizations that can help you, but if you don't have a job, they won't help you.
It's been a difficult thing sometimes to feed the homeless. I think some people don't understand the plight that many in America are really in.
How can you help yourself, or try to help yourself if somebody can't help give you that boost, help get you up off them streets. When you got 2 children, you're living on the streets and you're doing everything that you can, living daily, every day, from day to day. You can't get ahead.
It's difficult when you lose everything to find somebody that will help these days.
But we don't have any help.
Nana, what, Nana?
We don't have any family.
They have a program here
that
sort of helps you. It's like a 3-month program thing. They help you get in a place, but you have to have a job, and they'll completely move you in, pay your deposits, rent, everything for 3 months. Furnish everything. But if you ain't got a job, you're not qualified for the program.
I have a Social Security check. I can pay the rent. I can pay the electricity, and my babies wouldn't have to be walking on the streets all day long and all night long.
Most of us are really a paycheck away from losing everything. And a lot of these people were in that boat just a month or 2 ago. We have families, we have husbands and wives, we have people that are professional people, we have a lawyer here on the streets. All these people that have lost everything because of these difficult times.
You try to pinch your money as best way as you can, like my disability check is almost spent because of the utilities, the mortgage, and I can't pay my medical bills and stuff because my utilities and others takes the bulk of my money.
Obviously, people are hungry, and we don't make any distinctions. We have some people that are living in their vehicles, some that live in tents, some that are still in an apartment and almost ready to be on the streets, and we hope that they continue to come down so they don't have to be homeless. But what we try to offer is more than food. We're family. And we don't use the word homeless with them. We use the word houseless because we tell them that home is where the heart is, and welcome home. We are home, and we're family.
One misconception is that only the poor go hungry. Not true. Take, for example, Williamson County in Tennessee. 20 miles south of Nashville, it's one of the wealthiest counties in the country and the most prominent in Tennessee. Yet many of its citizens struggle day to day, paycheck to paycheck, to provide adequate food for their family.
Hunger affects the middle class in a variety of ways. Probably the most significant way that hunger impacts the middle class is people don't think about it. So there's not awareness that hunger exists in the middle class. We refer to the middle class as the used-tos, people who used to be able to afford the house that they're living in. They used to be able to afford the car they're driving. They used to be able to put all their children in all the extracurricular activities they wanted to, but they can't anymore. They can't anymore to the fact that they can't even really afford food for the table because the middle class is ill-equipped to handle it when a situation of financial crisis hits them. They haven't had the training, they don't know what to do, what services are available. Children are hungry at school and it affects grades.
Four hours south of Nashville, in the small town of Holly Springs, Mississippi, hunger, poverty, and unemployment are key issues. Most of the town is struggling to make ends meet each and every week. Not having enough to eat weighs heavy on everyone's mind.
We live in a town that we, as far as the economy that we have experienced, has pretty well left the town in a pretty terrible kind of condition. So we began to see that we have so many different people now needing the food. We'd be surprised that many times you see people coming and you don't think that they would be needing food, but they really do.
Through the children, I see that there's a lot of single parents without families, mother, father in the homes, and there are so many children sometimes home without any food cooked or no snacks.
And especially the elderly, they love it so much. I mean, they look for the food, and not only that, we have so many people that have children, some on the system, and sometimes their food runs out and they look forward to the Feed America First to be able to complete the rest of the month. And as for that, it is amazing to us that there's so many people that really needs food and need the help.
West Virginia is legendary for its mountains, diverse landscape, and coal mining industry. It's also one of the most beautiful states in America. But beneath the surface lies a state suffocating from the grip of poverty. Hunger doesn't discriminate here, as it affects both young and old alike.
This is Amandaville, and behind me is a place where someone once lived. People have lived in a couple of these different places in makeshift homes. This is supposed to be the richest country in the world. We have people that live in places like this to just get overlooked.
Along with the lack of jobs, because this is a small city, there is so much mental illness in this town. A lot of these guys look healthy and strong, but they could not hold down a job mentally. So I think that's a big issue, and people don't understand that. They're quick to judge.
There's just so many people that work these minimum wage jobs, and they make just enough not to qualify for food stamps. So it's like, what do? Not work and get food stamps, or do you work this terrible job and barely make enough money to survive and have nothing? And that's where a lot of people are.
I know where I work at in the fast food restaurant that there has been gentlemen that come out and they're like eating out of your dumpsters.
As a student, it was really hard to get assistance because you have to work 20 hours a week, even if you're on unemployment. And as a student, it's hard to even work. It requires so many hours out of the classroom, a lot of homework and stuff. And, there's just not time to do both. So you go without.
Even through these tough times, you can find heroes in the most unlikely places. One of those heroes is Khaki Nye. Her family lives in a rundown trailer in rural West Virginia. But that doesn't stop her from helping others who are in more need than she is.
I met Khaki at a restaurant that we both worked at in 2001, and ever since I met her, we've been really good friends. She's the kind of person that would give you the last dollar she had without any questions asked. She helps people that come off the streets who, might ask, we need food for our kids, we need food, we're hungry. I used to do the same thing. If I ever saw anybody in there, I would help them too. You can't just stand there and watch somebody starve, and that's what we do a lot when we drive through that area because you see so many people in need of help.
I've lived in West Virginia all my life. I've lived in this area 32 years now. I like the people. It's out in the country. The kids like being out in the country. There's 6 of us living here right now, and you can see it's not the greatest. The people that live here in my home are me, my son, his girlfriend, the 3 kids. As you can see, inside it's like really cluttered. Well, right now I'm using the power from the apartment. My son's got it to where we're wired up and getting the electric that we use. And something happened. There was a leak a month ago. The water bill's $403, and that was like in a month. But my son is trying to tear out things and fix them.
It's really sad, but it goes on every day, not just here in West Virginia, but all over America.
Los Angeles, the city where dreams come true and fortunes are made. It's also a city with continued high unemployment, rising rent, and living expenses. Because of these factors, many in the Los Angeles community are suffering.
The statistics on hunger in Los Angeles County are overwhelming. There are 1.7 million individuals who are at risk for hunger. Here at the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, we serve 1 million of these individuals, and of those, 400,000 are children. We do that by distributing 1 million pounds of food every single week, or the equivalent of 770,000 meals.
It always breaks my heart when you walk down the street and you see somebody literally step over a homeless person. They don't even acknowledge them.
There really is still a large number of individuals, hundreds of thousands, who really are going hungry on a daily basis.
The hunger issue is very bad here in Hollywood, especially when you have gigantic homes. Celebrities live just literally right up the hill. And we're a block from Hollywood Boulevard and the Hollywood and Highland, the Grauman's Chinese Theater. Walking around, you see homeless people all over the place here. Right in front of the subway, right in front of the church. So there's many homeless and hungry people here in our community.
Hunger is particularly, I guess, a challenge here in Los Angeles because the unemployment really has been hovering at about 12% for many years. The face of hunger has changed tremendously. We are now seeing a lot of families who, 6 months ago were donors to the food bank, and now because they have lost their job, they have to choose between paying the mortgage or feeding their families. And so they find themselves at the food pantry line getting food for their families. More and more people are going hungry every day.
150 miles away from New York City sits the capital city of Albany. Teachers here and across the country are seeing the effects of hunger in their classrooms and their communities. Studies have proven that food insecurity in a child's life will weaken their ability to learn. How can a child focus at school if all they can think about is when they will eat next? Many teachers are taking matters into their own hands to help their hungry students learn and grow.
In most cases, it's over the weekend when the scholars' last meal was on Friday. And when they came back to school on Monday, they told me that was the last meal they had, that they were in the care of a teenage sibling, that there was no food at home, and they rushed to school Monday morning to get breakfast.
I do have children that will come into school some days, and for whatever reason, they didn't eat breakfast, and they can be grumpy, have a lack of focus.
Most times the students will act out or be very lethargic and just lay their head down without any motivation to work.
The lack of food for the children directly relates to their performance in physical education. They come in hungry, they are not paying attention, they're restless, they're only thinking about where they're going to get their next meal.
A child simply cannot focus if they are hungry. They hear their stomach grumbling, they're thinking about what they could have or the last meal that they did have. And it creates a problem not only for the child, but for their teacher. Because the teacher is empathetic, but our hands are almost tied because we have nothing literally in the classroom to give them.
And it really does affect their psychomotor ability, on the most biological level, because if you're not fueling your body efficiently, then it's not going to perform the way you want it to.
A large majority of students at our school, over 80%, actually participate in the free or reduced lunch program. And through this program, they're able to eat both breakfast and lunch at school so that while they're in class, they're able to focus.
I've seen a lot of students in the last 10 or 12 years that have been in public schools kind of hoarding food, putting it in their pockets, or trying to sneak it home in their backpack to either feed themselves later or feed other family members that might not be of school age yet, sometimes even parents.
When we first started the project, the kids needed to kind of get a platform as to what they believed and what they felt was important. And so they did research into hunger in our community.
We kind of figured out what hunger really was, and we took a look at what the kind of people there were that were hungry and how much food they really needed, what the food pantries really did for them.
Yeah, I didn't realize that some kids didn't have enough food when they're hungry, that they could just go and get a drink or some pretzels.
1 out of every 6 students in our community have food instability issues. We did research and we found out that there's a direct correlation between how well students do in school and the food that they have available to them. That we learned about basic human nutrition, what a student or any child needs in order to be successful.
And we really realized, as I think it was 80% or something of our school has reduced lunch, which means they get free lunch because their family can't afford it.
It's hard to concentrate when you're thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch or dinner or breakfast.
When I was on Team Hunger Force, we went on trips to different food pantries and food banks.
In the beginning, we worked on like the surveys and all the things to go to the food pantries, so we were also able to, second semester, go on most of the field trips.
You know, some people kind of have run-down clothes or something. You know, they would look poorer than some people, but they definitely look normal. They were just people that don't have enough food for an everyday life.
It made me feel pretty sad to see that people like don't have the basic things in life, like food and breakfast, like the 3 meals and like a balanced diet.
We go to school with people like this. Our school has a very high poverty level, and I think that affects you as a kid that doesn't, it definitely makes you want to help people. I've never really done any community work other than this, and doing this kind of opened, my mind up to stuff, and it really made me feel good.
We have the same rate of hunger here that North Korea has.
Well, we have an organization called the JC Club, which we feed kids 7 days a week during school. And then in the summertime, we do a mobile feeding program that actually feeds in 7 area parks over a period of 2 hours.
Well, this organization here helps feed inner city children. So we go out to the parks every summer or here in this facility and feed the children that are not exactly getting the nutrition that they need.
This year, we'll probably be doing about 32 to 33,000 meals.
This is our first day starting for the summer. So by the end of the summer, we could be doing up to 500 meat sandwiches and 500 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
What surprised me is really how many kids there are in need. Sometimes in America we take for granted the things that we have. And, to come over and work here, it really amazed me as to how many kids don't get a lunch, how many kids aren't taken care of by their parents or their family, and they're just left to fend for themselves.
This is about our 18th year of feeding children in America. And every year we get more organized, and it seems like we're feeding more and more kids. And, when things get hard economically, a lot of parents, they just don't have the money to put food on the table for 3 meals a day. So a lot of the kids go without, but we try to supplement that 1 meal a day to make sure these kids are eating.
When school ends, these kids in the inner cities, in the at-risk areas of our community, they're not able to get a subsidized lunch. So a lot of kids, they will go without a meal, they'll go without a lunch, a breakfast, a dinner, and we try to fill that gap.
I grew up in a single-parent home in New York City, Queens, and I remember my mother sending us to the free lunch program, which was in a house, and it was awful, but we still ate it. But I remember I know I don't look hungry, but I was, hungry. My mother had a hard time making ends meet.
It's always been, there's that thing that poverty, crime, it's like this cycle. And I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to break that cycle. We're trying to say to these kids that, look, there is hope. You can get out of the situation that you're in. You have to make right decisions. And just because you grow up in a poor community or you grow up without doesn't mean that you have an excuse to go out and take something that you feel is yours.
Well, a lot of times we feed kids and they just want to give back. And so we fed kids for 2 or 3 years, and then they get a little bit older and they're like, Pastor Charlie, can I help? And we, of course, because what we do is we try to instill in the kids a work ethic, and we try to instill within the kids giving back and volunteering. So that's why we recruit our own kids. And kids feeding kids, it's a real great principle.
And so people today are eating a lot of food, but that food isn't really getting into the cells. It isn't really nourishing them at all. I see people buying a lot of food that they don't need. What they really just need to do is shop in the produce section and bring home vegetables, which really don't cost that much. It's the prepared foods that are costing so much, the sodas and the cereals. And there's no nutrition in that, none whatsoever. You know, a lot of people think that you have to be wealthy to eat healthy foods, and that's not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, I went to the farmer's market this morning and I bought some cabbage because I wanted to ferment it, and I paid $2 a head. And I bought some kale and some carrots and ginger and garlic, and the whole thing didn't even cost me $15. Now that food is going to last somebody a really long time because I'll ferment it, and then in a week it'll be ready to eat, and for weeks to come I'll have this absolutely extraordinarily delicious and important food. One of the things that our scientists have proven very clearly is that we don't need much food. As a matter of fact, if we eat very, very high quality food, but we don't eat much of it, we live much, much longer. And we have science to show that very clearly. It's called calorie restriction, so eating less, but with optimal nutrition.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a misconception that you have to have a lot of money to eat healthy. I mean, because honestly, I really don't. We don't. And being a single parent, obviously, we're on a very tight budget. But you can make it happen by, buying those foods like beans and rice and quinoa, which are healthy, they're high in protein. And then adding vegetables, really, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Even Ralph's has an organic food section. Even the 99-cent store, I believe, I went into in Smart and Final. So it's definitely possible. It's doable. You just have to, you have to look for it, and you have to budget your month out. Yes, my son and I go grocery shopping, and he loves it. There's one store down the street where he gets his own little cart, and yeah, he loves going up and down the aisles and buying mangoes and watermelon and sweet potatoes and...
Okay, anything else yummy?
Seaweed.
Seaweed. You like seaweed, don't you? And what else? Peas. And anything else? That's it?
He's not 3 yet, but my plan is when he's just a little older to really teach him about the ingredients of the things that we buy, the sugar levels, what's good for him, what isn't, I really want to instill in him the knowledge of what food is healthy and what isn't, and what's real food, like the fruit, the vegetables, that's real food, the grains like lentils and quinoa and beans and rice, those kind of things. I see all parents provide their children with snacks, and you really don't have to buy those cheap high sugar snacks that you see in stores. I mean, you can even make your own. I make something very simple for Noakai. It's a treat for him. It's brown Rice Krispies with maple syrup, coconut and cashew butter, and that lasts for 2-3 days, and it's like this sweet treat that he has and doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And like the carrot sticks, the cucumber, he loves as well. Watermelon, it's doable and it's possible to encourage your kid to eat healthy. And one other thing actually is to get your kid involved. I think in the kitchen, they can have fun. They can be part of the process. You can share with them what you're doing. Really getting them involved, I think, is a big thing in encouraging your kid to eat healthy.
Another aspect of food insecurity is malnutrition. Just because a person is overweight doesn't mean they aren't going hungry.
Yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to hunger, in everything from physical appearance to maybe some of the things, cars people drive or homes they live in. That's always a misconception.
So specifically with children, we look at children who might be a little overweight or even obese, and we say, how can that child be hungry? Clearly they're getting enough food to eat. Well, the answer is not clearly. It's not as simple as it looks.
Well, a lot of those folks are trying to survive on empty calories or on junk food, that costs a lot less to fill their bellies than it does for a nutritious meal.
Children are eating a lot of empty calories because that food is cheaper to purchase. You can get a lot more bags of potato chips than you can a bag of potatoes. You can get a lot more soda, which is completely empty calories, versus a gallon of milk or fruit juice. So children are eating a lot of empty calories versus sustainable, nutritious food.
So it may appear on the outwardly to people that they're doing fine. Well, they're still hungry and they still need our help. And then when it comes to things like cars and purses and cell phones, we hear that a lot. Like, well, this person has, this great looking car. Well, how can they be going hungry? Well, situations change. You don't know what's happened when they first got that car to where they are now. A lot of people live in debt, and those people you can't blame them for a situation they were in when they were in a better place financially and now they aren't.
So that affects the children. It affects their ability to learn and to grow. And then on the flip side of that, you have the elderly who they're fragile and their systems need the proper nourishment just to sustain life, literally. With every breath, they need proper nourishment, and many senior adults just do not have access to proper nutrition.
Based in Chicago, Feeding America is the nation's leading domestic hunger relief charity. Their mission is to feed America's hungry through a nationwide network of member food banks and engage our country in the fight to end hunger.
Well, Feeding America is the nationwide network of food banks across the country. We have 200 food banks, and what that does, those are the places where people can donate food, and then they distribute to 61,000 agencies across the country. Feeding America is in every community, in every county in the United States through our member food banks and our agencies. We have 61,000 agencies. We distribute food to 37 million people a year. So hunger in Chicago, it's about 16% of the population of Chicago is right now food insecure. So for Chicago, that's about 800,000 people who don't know where their next meal will be coming from. It's even worse when you think about kids in Chicago. That's about 20% of the population. So about 1 in 5 kids in Chicago just doesn't know where their next meal may be coming from. Feeding America tries to make a difference by creating a holistic approach to getting people out of hunger, out of food insecurity. So part of the mission that we have is also hooking people up with the right government programs that are out there that can maybe help them become more food insecure, which is the next step to them becoming totally independent. We also have programs in place for kids to get nutrition and nourishment when they're not in school. For example, we have a backpack program. That backpack program is geared towards these kids who maybe get a meal at school, but then come a long weekend or come a Friday, they don't have access to those free meals at school. So what we do with the backpack program is we give them a backpack full of food on Friday. They take it home, they're able to share that with their family and make sure that through those long weekends, through those holidays, they have something to eat.
Well, I'm Tom Henry, Executive Director of Feed America First. We've been distributing food for almost 12 years. We've given away 32 to 35 million pounds of food. Every month we serve about 200 agencies. And the agencies are our clients, not we don't necessarily see the families that they're serving. However, the last studies that were done by the USDA and Feeding America, there's about 50 million Americans that are food insecure. Food insecure means they're not sure if they're going to have to spend their money on medicine or rent or utilities or food. And a lot of times in those choices, food comes in last. So 50 million Americans, and the most disturbing part about it that nationally is 1 in 5 kids are at risk of going to bed hungry. In Tennessee, the problem's worse. It's 1 in 4. We're near the bottom economically.
I am President CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Well, Second Harvest is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to feed hungry people here in Middle and West Tennessee and work to solve hunger issues in our community.
Well, the fact is that the United States still has a huge surplus of food even after we provide food to people all over the world. We feed more people than any other country, and as well we should, as the richest nation in history. However, studies show that almost 40% of the food produced in the United States ends up going to the landfill. So why is there any hungry Americans? The food waste is so enormous because of the shopping habits of Americans. If you, for instance, go to buy tomatoes, you expect all the tomatoes in the grocery store to be perfect, and you expect there to be a big display of tomatoes. Well, if you've ever grown a tomato, you know that not all those tomatoes are perfect. There's a lot of ugly tomatoes. When you go into the grocery store, you expect every item you want on your grocery list, the name brand you want. You don't expect them to be out of anything. Most of the food processed in America is done in a highly automated fashion, and they'll continue to run the production line even if they're not sure that they can sell the food. The cheapest thing in the whole process is the food itself. It's the packaging, the marketing, the amount of labor, the amount of automation that it takes to produce food costs a whole lot more than the food itself. So they would rather overproduce a tractor-trailer load of yogurt, for instance, than to have to tell one of their big clients that they're out of product. Well, the net result that we've found is that every company wants to help and is willing to share that overproduction if it's relatively convenient to them, if it doesn't cost them extra time and money. that creates an opportunity for us. That's where we get most of our food. It's considered salvage food in that it's sellable, but the date is too close and they're not going to be able to do that.
Well, Second Harvest has been in the Middle Tennessee area now for over 33 years, providing services to those individuals who are in need of either emergency food or aren't sure where their next meal is going to be coming from. That's what Second Harvest is here to assist with. Hunger in America, unfortunately, is growing. We have 1 out of 4 children and 1 out of 6 Tennesseans that go to bed every single night and don't know where their next meal will be coming from. Over the past 3 years, we have seen a 25% increase in demand for our services. And that's been difficult for us to be able to keep up with funding that's needed to provide those services, as well as food to provide to those individuals in need. We see a lot of seniors. Our senior population is growing. What we are seeing too is many seniors who are having their children move back in with them because of unusual circumstances, losing their jobs or whatever. And in many cases, the children or the grandchildren are now coming to live with the grandparents, and they're living on very limited income.
GraceWorks got started in 1995 when a group of concerned individuals got together and realized the needs of our county were not being met. So GraceWorks got started as a group of churches coming together and saying, how can we be the church outside the walls? How can we feed our neighbors? How can we provide our neighbors with basic needs? Poverty and hunger is something people are ashamed of. No one's holding up a red flag or a white flag or any kind of flag and saying, I can't feed my children today. No one wants to admit that, particularly in the middle class, particularly in affluent Williamson County. We see executives that have been out of work for over a year. They've sold everything they own. They live literally in a shell of a home. It's empty. There's nothing inside of it, and there still isn't money to buy food. We've seen war veterans come in, and it really is touching and will break your heart to see a soldier who has fought for our country sit across the table and have so many medical needs or so many bills to pay that they can't feed their own children. But yet they've saved my children. They've allowed my children and me to live in a land of freedom, but they can't provide for their own family. We see stories like this every day.
With an anemic economy and many Americans struggling with job loss, hunger, or unexpected medical bills, places like the Journey Home are reaching out, saving lives, and giving hope to Americans that are desperately in need. Executive Director Scott Foster explains their mission.
The Journey Home is a Christian outreach program that serves the homeless and the low and very low income of folks here in Rutherford County. We provide basic needs services such as food and clothing, hygiene, and also a lot of counseling. We have a computer lab. We provide basic resources that help people help themselves and get back on their feet. You know, homelessness is a very complicated problem. It involves literally every aspect of someone's life, from health and nutrition to relationships, to employment, to transportation, to housing. There are many interconnected issues. And so the things that we do help people put the pieces together, coordinate various different resources and put them into a plan that will help them reach the goals they have for sustainable housing and basically reintegration into community life.
My journey started about a year ago when I was diagnosed with cancer. My husband left, I lost my job, I lost my car, I lost everything. And someone introduced this place to me when I had nowhere to go. And they found us a place to sleep. And they got us in church, and they helped me get disability, get back on my feet and get healthy again. And thanks to them, we have an apartment. I'm on my way to getting a car. On my way to getting an education. I mean, it's endless. It's endless what these people have done for me. So my son is in counseling because it was really hard for him seeing me go through what I went through. But it's all thanks to the Journey Home. It's all thanks to Geneva and Scott. I don't know what I would have done without them.
People would probably not recognize that we have as many people, particularly children and seniors, as we do, that are not able to meet a regular, healthy, nutritious diet in their day-to-day life. People would not realize that they may have a neighbor that is struggling to make ends meet. You know, what we find, and we serve a very wide population from infants and families with children to seniors, and we find that in some cases people are having to make very difficult choices. Choices maybe between whether the light bill gets paid or whether I have an adequate amount of food to put on the table or whether I buy the medicine that I need. So we actually have a pretty significant problem with people not being able to maintain a proper diet. And so in our organization, we really deal with that in two ways. We provide hot meals, we provide breakfast, lunch, and supper. During the week, 7 days a week, there's a hot meal to be had here at the Journey Home for people who are simply hungry. They don't have to meet any other criteria. And then we also distribute food staples for those folks who are housed and have a place to prepare food, but they may be a little short in their budget. And you know, it's just, employment is not as stable and secure as it has been in previous years, and folks just find themselves where their income doesn't quite meet the budget. So by distributing those type foods, we're able to help them make that dollar stretch.
Well, we always tell people in our communities and really throughout America that there are simple things that they can do. Everybody can contribute. So maybe it's contributing your time to a local food bank or a local pantry program and helping them out and servicing those individuals who are in need.
Well, I'd say there's several things that people can do to end the epidemic of hunger in America. But to me, the number one thing that people can do is acknowledge that it exists. We can no longer turn a blind eye in our community or our country to the realization that there are people we know, people whose lives can be touched by hunger.
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can help. There's everything from volunteer to food bank. We have 200 food banks across the country. A lot of these food banks don't want to use their money for operations, for staff. They really want to be as efficient as possible and get food out. So if you can go to your local food bank, you can then participate, or you can help out packing boxes, moving boxes, setting up these backpacks that we talked about.
The way that we deal with issues of poverty, not just here in our community, but in our nation, in our world, is that everyone has to do something. If everyone does something, then no one has to do a tremendous amount. But whether it is building community within your own neighborhood and knowing who your neighbors are, knowing who vulnerable folks are in your community, and checking on them and helping them out when they need a hand, whether it is volunteering at a place like this, a place that serves meals, or a place that satisfies hunger through food distribution.
They can come to our local food bank, and we have lots of different activities in helping us to sort through food that gets donated here so that we can then send it out to the people who need it the most. In addition to that, they can always contribute funds. Every food bank and every organization needs money to be able to run their operations. So we hope that they'll get financially engaged with that as well.
You can do simple things. You can clean out your pantry. You can take food to the local food pantry. There are many food pantries all across this community, all across this country that are begging for food. Shelves are completely empty, but we've got families that have pantries full of stocked food.
And it can be done on an individual level. It can be done on group level. We have a tremendous number of churches and volunteers, civic organizations that come, and folks spend a few hours a month here, and they make a difference to their neighbor in need. You know, but it can also be done with your next door neighbor. So if you find that you have, you know, a next door neighbor that is vulnerable, then just being a part of their life is important, and so you'll recognize what those needs are, and then you can respond to that.
Teach your children about hunger. Teach your children to give back. Food pantries are a great place to get children introduced to volunteerism. So clean out your pantries, buy extra food. When there's a grocery store that has 10 for 10 and you only need 4 items, buy those other 6 things and give it to the local food bank. There are drives constantly. Stores have drives, schools have drives, churches have drives. Acknowledge that hunger exists. Look for places to give and then give.
But don't just stay there and, ignore the problem of hunger. There's a hungry child that's sitting right next to your own child in the classroom. There's somebody at work who is, standing in the food pantry on the weekend. The faces of hunger have changed. It is not what it used to be. It is right next door to us, and often we don't know that that's what's going on because people feel embarrassed about it and don't want to say anything. So really encourage everybody to take a stand and say, we will not stand for hunger, and we will do whatever we can to bring an end to it.
I think that ultimately in all the things that we do, the most important thing that we do is help people understand that they're valuable. And I think that when we as a community realize that each of our members is a valuable person and we get involved and we invest in the other people in our community, then we resolve these problems. Issues like hunger go away. Issues like housing crises go away. Employment issues where people are having trouble finding jobs. You find jobs through networks, through people through community.
And then there's also, you can advocate. Advocate on behalf of the hungry. Advocate on behalf of those who need help. There's a lot of people out there who don't have a voice maybe with our decision makers, and you can then be one of those voices for them and help get laws passed that will help feed people in this country.
It's all of our responsibility to try and alleviate hunger, and one of which is to be advocates, to contact local politicians, whether it's at the city level or congressman, senator, at the state level, federal. There are a lot of programs that they're looking at, and so to make sure that these programs are passed and that they will come back to your local community and help.
And realize that someone is hungry today.
The face of hunger in America is all too real, and it's looking at all of us. It could be the family of 4 living next door to you, or an elderly couple at the grocery store. It doesn't matter if you live in an urban, suburban, or rural setting. Hunger has no boundaries. Everyone can do something to fight the crisis here in the United States, whether it's donating funds to your local food bank or volunteering in your community. The truth is, no one in America should go hungry. No one.